Okay, everyone, you can hear me? If you can hear me, please prepare paper 2. So we finish solving. Okay, I will start sharing my screen. We will continue the lesson, Transport and Mammals. Let me share my screen. Can you hear me, all of you?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Okay, can you please tell me where did we stop? At which page? Did we solve with, I think we solved several questions. Where did we stop? We solved a few pages, several pages in class. What did we solve and where did we stop? Or we solved from the beginning? What's wrong? Hello? Can you hear me, everyone? Hello? Year 11. Am I heard?
Yes, miss.
Okay, tell me, where did we stop? I think we answered this question in class. We want to finish this lesson. How many pages? They are 58. I think we solved the first 20. How many pages did we solve? Did Mariam tell me where did we stop? At what page? I have 4 of you here. Kenzie, can you tell me where did we stop?
We stopped at page 19.
Yes, I remember it was close to 20. Okay, so let's continue from there. I will be quick, so while we are solving, write the answers quickly or write bullet points and then we can continue later. Okay. Did we solve page 19? Or we did not solve page 19?
We finished.
Okay, so we are starting page 20. Very good. Yes, I remember they were the first 20 pages. Okay, now the first question looks very easy to me here. Describe the roles of the sinoatrial node and the atrioventricular node in the initiation and the control of the cardiac cycle. We will typically write the steps of the cardiac cycle. Nothing tricky here about this question. Farouk, can you remind me what are the steps, in what order?
Yes, the sinoatrial node sends a wave of excitation to the atrium, so they contract, and then into the atrioventricular node, which delays the wave of excitation, so the ventricles have time to fill up with blood, and then it goes into the bundle of His and down to the porcine tissues, and the ventricles contract.
Very good. You said in this order exactly. Sinoatrial node, it will cause the atria to contract, and then atrioventricular node, and then you said bundle of His, and then you said Purkinje tissues, and then you said the ventricles. Okay, now I see that this is out of 4 marks. Now let's look into a little bit more details. Let's talk about the sinoatrial node. So we study together also. Sinoatrial node, where is it located?
In the wall of the right atrium.
Very good. And it has another name. What is the other name of the sinoatrial node? It's the natural what? Doesn't it initiate impulses on its own? Myogenic?
Oh, yeah, myogenic.
Yes. So add these keywords to be on the safe side. So yes, the location, it is in the wall of the right atrium. It sends out impulses or a wave of excitation myogenically. So the cardiac cycle is a myogenic cycle. And the sinoatrial node, it has another name. Don't forget this name. It's the natural pacemaker of the heart. This is the maker that will control the pace of the heart. So it's called the natural pacemaker. Why natural pacemaker? Because when it is destroyed, you go do an operation and you add a digital or an artificial pacemaker. Now, the atrioventricular node, did you mention in your answer that it is responsible for the delay?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. So I think this is important. Bundle of His, where is it located?
in the septum.
Yes, in the septum. Also add these small points. Maybe they want these points in the answer, and as long as you know them, just add them. So sinoatrial node, don't always, when you mention the sinoatrial node, always mention that it sends out impulses spontaneously, myogenic cardiac cycle. It is the natural pacemaker. It is located in the wall of the right atrium. Atrioventricular node is responsible for the delay, and you can write the advantages of those delay, and I think you mentioned them. Bundle of His is in the septum of the heart, divides to the Purkinje fibers that are branching into two. And did you mention that the contraction starts from the apex of the ventricles?
No, I didn't say.
Say that, okay? The contraction starts from the apex of the ventricles upwards. Always the contraction or the ventricular systole starts from the base upwards. This is very important so that both ventricles contract at the same time. Okay, I don't think we need to look at the mark scheme. I'll just open it to be on the safe side and have it here next to us. Okay, now the next question. The Purkinje fibers pass down the septum and extend to the cardiac muscle at the base or the apex of the heart. Explain why it is important that the Purkinje tissues extend to the base of the heart. I think I said that while I was speaking. What will you say, Kenzie?
Yes, doctor.
What will you say? Why is it important that the Purkinje tissues, they extend to the base? Why do they move all the way down to the base?
Because it begins at the base of the ventricles.
Because of what?
They begin at the base of the ventricles, the ventricular systole.
Correct. Very good. So that the contraction or the ventricular systole, like you said, it has
And
to
both
start.
ventricles contract at the same time.
Excellent, because it has to start at the base and then move upwards. So this is one mark. And the second mark, just like you said, so that both ventricles contract at the same time. This will give you the 2 marks
Ventricles pumps blood to most of the ventricles.
at the
Pump
same time. Okay, so this will give you the 2 marks. Okay, and if you want to write more, what if you want to write more? What will you say?
I will refer to the wave of excitations.
You will refer to the what?
The wave of excitations.
You can say that as long as what you're saying is correct. Talk to me about the blood flow. When the ventricles contract, the blood will flow where?
First, from the ventricle to the atria through the semilunar valves.
To the atria, you mean to the arteries?
Yes, to the
To the arteries, yes. If I write those 2 points, and I'm sure of them, but I still want to write a third point to be on the safe side. Thus, I can say that when the ventricles contract, the pressure increase, pushes blood into the arteries, out of the semilunar valve, okay? Again, in biology, I always tell you, be very generous with your answer as long as you're sure that what you're writing is correct, because you really don't know exactly what they want. Okay. Why is the mammalian circulatory system called a closed and the double circulation? Mariam, can you help me? This is easy also. Why is it a
closed
closed circulation?
Because the blood does not leave the vessels like the capillaries or veins, and they're not pumped into open spaces.
Correct. Okay, what she said is correct because the blood always stays inside the vessels. And give example of vessels, capillaries, like she said, arteries, veins. Now, why is it called a double circulation?
Because the blood passes twice through the heart in one circulation. One of them is the pulmonic and the systemic.
Perfect. Okay, this is very easy. Okay, figure 5.1. Look, I will go directly to the figure, but of course, you don't do like me. You read the question. Now, Farouk, this side of the heart, Farouk, is the left side of the heart or the right side of the heart?
That's the left side.
Yes, how did you know?
No, I don't think it's on the left.
Excuse
Oh, because the vena cava is on the right, it goes on the right, and you can see the vena cava right there.
Yeah, you can see this is one way. This is the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava, okay? I'll give you a very, very easy tip. If you're given a picture of the heart like this, and the apex is always tilted to one side, the apex is always tilted to the left side. So this apex is always towards the left side. So as long as the apex is tilted this way, so this side of the heart is the left side of the heart. Okay, tell me then, what is B? What is this?
B is the
It's entering into the left side of the heart?
Yeah, I don't remember the names.
No. Tell me, what is the vein that will enter the left side of the heart? It will enter the left atrium here.
Maybe.
Yes, you are correct. Don't tell me I don't know. You know. So B is the pulmonary vein. Okay, good. Now, obviously, they took the heart and they cut it in those sections, those cross sections. This is the left atrium. Then what is this side? What is A? What is
Right.
A? Yes, the right atrium. Good. Okay. 1 minute. This is the right atrium, but let's look at the if 1 minute. Now this is the right atrium, yes, this one, this side is the right atrium, but this is the right atrium. Now, what is 2?
Who is
Look at 2, wait. This is here, it's a line here. Now we know that this is the left atrium and this is the right atrium. And then this line here is below a certain, it's below a certain artery. Can you see that? There's one here. What is this
Yeah.
part? What's this artery?
the pulmonary artery?
Yes, you are correct. It's the pulmonary artery. So if they're cutting at the base of the pulmonary artery, obviously this is a valve. 2 is a valve. Which valve? It's at the base of the pulmonary artery. So this is which valve? Pulmonary valve, yes, or a semilunar valve. Okay? This question, you need to understand it or it will get very tricky. So the first thing you will do, of course, I'm sure that they will ask you what is A, what is B, what is 1, and what is 2, what is 3. So the first thing you will do is that you will look at the apex and you will decide that this is the left side of the heart. And then B, it's cutting through B. B is the pulmonary vein. Do you all agree? And then the cut is going to go through the left atrium and then it's going to extend into the right atrium. And it also cuts through the base of one of the arteries. This is the pulmonary artery. So that base here too must be the pulmonary valve or the semilunar valve. Do you see how we got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Now they're cutting across C and D. Now C and D is very easy. You have here a chamber that is surrounded by very thick walls. Can you tell me, Kenzie, what is Y? It's the base of the heart, the ventricles at the bottom, and one of them is surrounded by very thick muscular walls. The thickest muscular walls. So which valve, chamber is that?
It's the right atrium.
Which is the right atrium, X or Y? Atrium or ventricle? Look at C and D. It's cutting the base at the base of the heart. The atrium is up there. The ventricles are below. So C and D is cutting through the ventricles. Now the question is, look at X and look at Y. Y is the left ventricle or the right ventricle?
X is the left.
No, X is the right ventricle. Why is X the right ventricle? Look at the thickness of the muscular wall around it. So you can see that the thickness of the muscular walls around this ventricle, it's thin. While you look at D, Y here, you have very thick muscular walls. So this has to be the left ventricle. Okay, Kenzie?
Okay, it's fine.
So now you understand? So I'm sure they will ask you next. Name structures 1, 2, and 3. Tell me, Mariam, what did we say 1 is?
Pulmonary vein.
Pulmonary vein. What's 2?
Pulmonary valve.
Yes, 2 will be the confusing one. I think the rest are easy. 2 is confusing because 2, if you look at 2, you know that it is a valve of some sort. So 2, you have to look just, it's below which artery and you will get it, okay? You can be confused and think that it is below the pulmonary artery. So if you write semilunar valve, you will get it correct. Okay? It's not the aortic valve, it's below the pulmonary artery. So if you're confused, you can write semilunar valve, one of them, it will be right. Now, what is 3? 3? 3 is up there, here.
Right atrium.
Yes, the right atrium. This is not a very nice question. Okay, explain why the wall of chamber Y is thicker than the wall of chamber X. Kenzie, can you tell me? Why is Y thicker than X? Why?
Because left ventricle as it pump blood into
Yes. Y is the left ventricle, so it pumps blood where? This is easy.
to the atria.
My dear, you're confused. This is the heart. This is the left ventricle here. It will pump the blood to the arteries, not the atria. There's a very big difference. Okay?
Okay.
Kenzie, it will pump the heart to which artery? What's this? The biggest artery in the body?
It's the aorta.
Yes, yes. I want you to be sure of your answer. Yes, the aorta. And the aorta will take it and give it to who?
To the body.
Yes, this circulation is the systemic or the pulmonary?
The systemic.
Correct. High pressure circulation or low pressure circulation?
High pressure.
Yes, that is why the wall of chamber Y, which is the left ventricle, has to be very thick to provide contractions that will give this pressure, this high pressure, because it will travel for long distances, etc., etc. Now let's look at X. Farouk, look at X, my dear. X is which ventricle, right or left?
Right ventricle.
Very good. This right ventricle will pump blood where? What is the pathway?
It's pump blood to the lungs.
Correct. Now what about the distance?
It's a short distance, so it doesn't require, it requires low pressure.
Very good. Perfect. And this is the pulmonary circulation, my dear, or the systemic?
It's pulmonary circulation.
Very good. So this is what you will write. Exactly. Write it down as we're speaking quickly. Okay. So at least you get this done. So the Y is the left ventricle. Whenever you mention left ventricle, then you will mention that it will have to pump the heart into the aorta. That will take the blood. It will have to pump the blood into the aorta. That will take the blood into the whole body, which is the systemic circulation. High pressure circulation. This is O-level material. And it will travel for long distances. So I have to pump with a very forced contraction. While the right ventricle will carry the blood into the pulmonary artery that will take the blood to the lungs, just like Farouk said, which is the pulmonary circulation, which is of a short distance and therefore low pressure circulation. And the pressure has to be low. Yes, Farouk.
Miss, في درجة عندنا أقول the pressure needs to be low so it doesn't burst the capillaries.
I was just going to ask you. Look, it's out of 3 marks. Write it. Why not? The problem is you have the space. You know the fact. Write it.
Okay.
Okay? Let's be on the safe side. We don't want to give summarized answers, not in paper 2 at all. Okay. Explain how the contractions of the chambers of the heart are coordinated during one cardiac cycle. The same answer in the previous question, because the previous question was a different year. Okay? So again, see, always the cardiac cycle is out of 4 marks. And we said the answer here. We will write the same thing exactly in the correct sequence of events in this question. Explain how the contractions are coordinated. You will write the cardiac cycle, exactly what happens. Sinoatrial node. Write some information about it, that it is the natural pacemaker. It is found in the wall of the right atrium. It will send a wave of excitation. They like the term wave of excitation into both atria. Make it clear that both atria will contract at the same time. So this is the first step. And then it will go to which node?
The atrial ventricle.
Yes, I think we memorized it by now. The atrioventricle node that is responsible for the delay. You have to mention the delay and its importance for the atria to empty, to give time for the ventricles to fill, so that the atria and the ventricles, they don't contract at the same time, so that we have regular heartbeats, etc., etc. And then after the atrioventricular node, mention the bundle of His, and then the Purkinje tissue that will divide or branch and then reach the base of the ventricles so that the ventricles contract from the base upwards. If you mention all those steps, you get the full mark. Okay? And you have to clearly mention that the atria contract together, followed by the ventricles that also contract together. If anyone has any questions, stop me. Now, 3. Most of the oxygen that enters the mammalian circulatory system is transported by red blood cells. Describe and explain the passage of oxygen across the cell surface membrane of the red blood cell. This is the respiration. Okay, so let's leave it for the lesson respiration. I think we answered this question, or who did I answer it with? At high altitude, didn't we answer these questions in class?
Yeah, we answered that one in class.
Yes, we did. And we answered this one.
Yeah, we answered this one though.
I remember that we continued a few. Okay, here. Let's answer this. Now, Y. State the function of the cell labeled Y. What is Y?
Phagocytes.
Which one?
Neutrophil?
Yes, the neutrophil. And what is their function? Any phagocyte, what is their function?
Phagocytosis.
Phagocytosis, because they clearly asked for the function. Okay, the red blood cell labeled in figure 5.1 is described as crenated because it has abnormal shriveled appearance. Explain how this red blood cell becomes crenated. Now let's go back to the red blood cell. Obviously, the red blood cell here has shriveled down. What would make the red blood cell shrivel or become shrunk? I'll try to help.
What's moving out? What's moving out?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
What's moving out of the cell?
Blood or water?
What?
Yes. When the red blood cells are in a very concentrated solution, the water will move out of the red blood cell by what?
Osmosis.
Exactly, by osmosis across a semi-permeable membrane down a concentration gradient from the inside of the cell to the outside of the cell. This is how it will become crenated. Okay? You want to look at answers? Let's look at answers just to be. Where are we? Which page was that? Oh, we said page 20. But we're sure of our answers here. Okay, here. Sodium chloride solution has a lower water potential than cytoplasm or reversed argument. Accept water for potential. Water leaves the cell by osmosis. Alternative wording. So this is exactly what we said. We said concentrated solution. That is the same thing as low water potential. We said osmosis, and we said that the water will move from high water potential to low water potential. This will make it shrivel or crenated. Very good. Anyone has any questions? Up to now, I see the questions for this lesson actually are very easy. Okay. Researchers studied the effect of altitude on the red blood cells of humans, and they recorded the red blood cell count of healthy adults from populations living at 4 different altitudes in a mountainous region. The results are as shown. Now, population A, B, C, D, and the altitude, in case you're not sure, it's the height from the earth. How far up are you? So obviously here, those are living on the top of a mountain, population D. And the mean red blood cell count, Kenzie, what do you think is happening to the number of red blood cells?
Decreases.
It is increasing. Very good. Now, answer I. Calculate the percentage increase in the mean red blood cell count between population A and population D.
We will make final minus initial divided initial times 100.
No. Oh, I think you will. Wait 1 minute. The percentage increase.
I did
1 mark.
7 minus 4.5 divided 4.5 times
Yes,
100.
yes, this is the percentage increase. So yes. So what is the answer that you will get?
13.56.
Yes, 13.56. Let me see. Do we just subtract? This is mean red blood cell. No, this is not percentage. Yes, what you said is correct. If that was already a percentage, then we will only deduct. So yes, exactly. In case you forgot the formula, it's the final value minus the starting value over the starting value times 100. Okay, describe and suggest explanations for the data. Okay, Kenzie, also tell me why there is a percentage increase in the mean red blood cell count. 4 marks.
Because as we increase in the ثانية wait a minute.
Yes.
As the population increase,
No,
the
no, we will not start with the population will increase. The population does not increase. The people will live on the top of the mountain. The red blood cell count will increase. Why does the red blood cell count increase?
because there is a decrease in the partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere with the increase
Yes,
in
one by one. Up there, so there is a decrease in the oxygen up there in high altitudes. This is 1 mark. And then, because there is a decrease in oxygen, how does the body suffer?
it increase the number of red blood cells.
Yes, you are correct. The increase in the number of red blood cells is the adaptation. But what is the problem when you have a decrease in the oxygen concentration up on the top of the mountain?
Decrease the pH or
No, not decrease in pH. I don't have enough oxygen to supply my oxygen demands. Look, this is 4 marks. So I want to give him a detailed answer. You are jumping. What you're saying is correct, but you're jumping. So on the top of the mountain at high altitudes, I have little oxygen. This is a problem. Are you with me?
yes, can we refer to hemoglobin or
Yes, we will. I'm just telling you the correct order. You have to refer to the hemoglobin, of course. At the top of the mountain, which is a high altitude, you have little oxygen. So there is an increase in the demand for the oxygen supply. This oxygen is not enough to meet my demand. So how does the body respond? By increasing what? You just said it.
increase in number of red blood cells?
Yes, increasing in the number of the red blood cells, increasing in the hemoglobin content. What is the name of the hormone that is produced by the kidney that will help in the increase in the production of red blood cells? We said it. Remember the erythropoietin hormone? In a question out of 4 marks, you need to write it. This hormone will be produced by the kidney and it will increase in the production of red blood cell and more hemoglobin. Now, why is an increase in the red blood cell count important, Kenzie?
To maintain the level of the oxygen?
Yes, to provide the oxygen needed by the body so that I can meet my demand for the oxygen. And this oxygen is needed for aerobic respiration. Okay? And also you have to mention that there will be more oxygen available at the lungs. I really don't understand why this question is out of 4 marks. So what did we say? We said that at the top of the mountain, I have less oxygen. This will cause a problem because I need the oxygen to survive. So as a response, as an adaptation, we will produce the hormone erythropoietin that will increase the red blood cell and increase the hemoglobin, increase the oxygen available at the lungs, provide the oxygen that is needed by the body, meet our demands. Does anyone have any other ideas to write anything else? Let's look at the mark scheme because I don't understand why this question is out of 4 marks. It should be out of 3. But let's see. This is the question here. Maybe they're repeating themselves. Let's see. Okay, allow red blood cell count for mean red blood cell count. Allow or reverse argument. Any 4 from. So you will not need to write. They have 8 points for you. We can write 4. Description of data. Oh, we have to write numbers from the graph itself, from the table. This is maybe what we missed. That is why it is out of 4 marks. So we said everything correctly, but we have to give numbers. Describe and suggest. So the moment you see the word describe, just write numbers. Like for example, when the altitude was 695, the mean red blood cell count was 4.50. And when the altitude was 2118 meters above sea level, the mean red blood cell count is 5.11. This is what we missed. Okay? Did you understand? Anyone has any questions?
Not yet.
Okay, so we wrote all the information, but it was out of 4 marks and I was suspicious because they gave us a table, so they always want you to quote data from the table or the graph. Let's read. Red blood cell count, description of data. This is what we missed, number 1. Okay, 2, describe impartial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere with increase in altitude. We said number 2. 3, reference to hemoglobin. Example, lower saturation. We said number 3. We talked about hemoglobin. Okay, and we want more hemoglobin, lower affinity of hemoglobin for the lungs. We said we will increase more oxygen at the lungs. More hemoglobin is required to carry enough oxygen to the tissues. We said this. Suggestions of increase to count. Example, rate of production, red blood cells, increase erythropoietin levels. We said 4, 5, little difference between B and C. Again, this is quoting data. Differences in altitude are not great. This is quoting data. To adapt, we wrote all the 4 points. We only missed the data. Okay, so they love their own data. Don't forget to write data. Now, carbonic anhydrase is an enzyme found in red blood cells which has an important role in the transport of gases. Explain why a non-competitive inhibitor of carbonic anhydrase will reduce the supply of oxygen to actively respiring tissues. Mariam, can you answer this question?
Yes, the carbonic anhydrase is an enzyme that catalyzes the reaction of water and carbon dioxide reacting to form carbonic acid.
Correct.
Therefore,
Wait,
less,
this carbonic acid dissociates into what?
yes, the carbonic acid dissociates into hydrogen ions and hydrogen carbonate.
Okay. Now, when this enzyme is not present or it is affected by a non-competitive inhibitor, what will happen?
No carbonic acid will be produced and there will be no hydrogen ions.
Very good. Now first, what is a non-competitive inhibitor?
It's an inhibitor that binds with the alternative site of an enzyme, changing the shape of the active site temporarily.
Excellent. Okay. And what you said is perfect. Now, how all this will reduce the supply of the oxygen to actively respiring tissues? So what you said is perfect. This enzyme catalyzes a particular reaction, and in the presence of a non-competitive inhibitor, it will not, It will not catalyze this reaction because of the reasons that you said. Now, why or how will this reduce the supply of oxygen?
I think the CO2 stays inside the hemoglobin, therefore it cannot bind with the oxygen.
Who cannot bind with the oxygen?
The hemoglobin.
It cannot bind to the oxygen? No. No, what you said is incorrect. That last part is incorrect. We have oxyhemoglobin. Okay? Oxyhemoglobin or the hemoglobin, when will it leave the oxygen? When there is more of what?
Hydrogen ions.
Exactly. The hemoglobin is bound to the oxygen. I will give away the oxygen to the tissues when there is high concentration of hydrogen ions because the hemoglobin has a higher affinity to hydrogen ions. So when the hydrogen ions concentration increase in the blood, the hemoglobin will dissociate and unload and leave the oxygen and bind with the hydrogen ion instead to form the hemoglobinic acid. Do you all agree with me?
Yes.
Good. If there is no hydrogen ions, will the hemoglobin dissociate?
No.
No. So the hemoglobin will remain bound to the oxygen, therefore reducing the supply of the oxygen to the respiring tissues. Did you all understand that?
Yes.
Farouk, Kenzie, do you have any questions?
No.
No. This question, you know the answer for this question, but it's a little bit tricky. Like it asked you in an indirect manner. Okay, so you all know this equation and you all know what is a non-competitive inhibitor. At least writing this down will give you 1 out of 2. Thank God it's only out of 2 marks. But you did not still answer why this non-competitive inhibitor would reduce the supply of oxygen. Because the hemoglobin will remain bound to the oxygen and it will not dissociate so that the oxygen will not be provided to the tissues. The hemoglobin only dissociates when the hydrogen ion concentration increases. Okay? Now, let's look at the answers. Here, I think, Look, less hemoglobinic acid is formed. Fewer hydrogen ions, yes, fewer hydrogen ions to bind to the hemoglobin to cause the dissociation of hemoglobin. This is the most important sentence. That's why it was the first sentence written. And then everything else we mentioned binds to the allostatic site or the alternative site other than the alternative site, causes change of active site. Maryam said that. Substrate cannot bind. Maryam said that. Fewer or no enzyme substrate complex formation. It's the same thing. It will prevent or reduce the carbonic acid formation. We said that. And fewer hydrogen ions to produce carbonic acid, fewer dissociation. This is the part that you missed. But you know it. You just did not link them together. Is it clear for everyone? This is a tricky question. I'll get this question on the term exam. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Now, Farouk, figure 6.1 is a diagram of a vertical section of the human heart and the associated blood vessels. Before I move on, Farouk,
Yes, sir.
let's go to the, what's this called? To the table. What is the valve that prevents the backflow of blood into a ventricle?
The pulmonary valve.
1 minute. The pulmonary valve, which is which letter?
S.
Yes, correct. So the first one is S. Now, which blood vessel carrying blood under highest pressure? Let's go to,
E.
what did you say? P?
P.
Yes,
P.
of course, P. This is the aorta. Yes, so the second one is P. We said the first one is S. Chamber that pumps blood to the lungs. Kenzie, what is the chamber that pumps the blood to the lungs?
It's N.
Yes, this is the right ventricle. Good. N. I don't think anyone has any problems. Okay, we cannot answer B because nicotine, we will study it in the lesson respiration. So let's leave this for now. Kenzie, cardiac myocytes are heart muscle cells. Fetal cardiac myocytes are present before birth and they divide rapidly during development. Soon after birth, the cell cycle in most of these fetal cardiac myocytes stops forming adult cardiac. Most of the adult cells have completed the cell cycle, but in some, the cell cycle stops at the end of mitosis. Okay, this is mitosis. I don't know why did I put this question here. Let me see the question. State the difference between adult cardiac myocytes that have completed the cell cycle and those that have stopped. No, you will not be able to answer this question. But I'll tell you, myositosis involves several phases. The last phase involves the division of the cytoplasm to give you two separate cells. When a cell does not complete the cell cycle, you will have one large cell with two nuclei. So let's leave this for now. So just why it could be a disadvantage that the cell cycle has stopped in most adult cardiac myocytes. Again, let's leave this for now. Okay, so this is all mitosis. When we take the lesson mitosis. Kenzie, again for the 100th time, what is A?
Neutrophil.
Yes, correct. What's B?
Lymphocytes.
Correct. What is this one?
Macrophages.
Yes, correct. Or monocytes. Okay. Blood and lymph are both fluids that transport substances within the human body. Table 4.1 shows components both found in the blood and the lymph. Complete table 4.1 to show whether the concentration of each of these components is higher or lower or the same. So you will either write those words, higher or lower or the same, in the lymph when compared with the concentration in the blood and the aorta. You may use the words higher or lower or the same, once, more than once, or not at all. Oxygen, now this is easy. Oxygen, my dear, it is higher or lower or the same than in the lymph. We are comparing the aorta and the lymph. Concentration in the lymph compared to the concentration of the aorta. So in the lymph, it is higher or lower?
Lower.
Of course, it's lower. Kenzie, are you with me? Of course, I have more oxygen in the aorta than I do in the lymph. So oxygen will be?
Lower.
Lower. Okay. Now, carbon dioxide.
It's higher.
Yes, it's higher in the lymph. Why? Because the lymph absorbs excess tissue fluid. And tissue fluid is high in what?
The lymph.
The tissue fluid contains waste products, which is carbon dioxide. So of course, carbon dioxide, I have more carbon dioxide in the lymph. Of course, the aorta is oxygenated. So I have higher or more carbon dioxide in the lymph. Now the red blood cells, I have more red blood cells in the aorta or the lymph. What do you think?
It's lower in the lymph.
Of course it is. I don't have red blood cells in the lymph anyways. I have white blood cells in here. Okay, this is a very easy one. The presence of a pathogen infecting the body leads to an increase in the concentration of protein in the lymph. Suggest an explanation for this increase in protein concentration. By the way, this is the lesson immunity. I'll give you a guess. The lymph contains what? White blood cells or red blood cells? If I have infection.
White blood cell.
Okay, white blood cells. We have two types of white blood cells. We took it last in the last lesson. What are the two types?
Phagocytes and lymphocytes.
Correct. Lymphocytes. What do they produce? The B lymphocytes.
Antibodies.
Antibodies. And antibodies, maybe we did not take this part yet. Antibodies are made up of
Glycoproteins.
Proteins.
no proteins only. Glycoproteins are found on the cell membrane as receptors. We didn't take it yet, so it's okay. So suggest an explanation now for more protein concentration when I have infection, Farouk. I will have more proteins in the lymph when I have an infection. Why?
Yes, white blood, because at the site of infection, white blood cells are released, and white blood cells, lymphocytes produce antibodies, which are
Correct. Correct. Perfect. Okay, so you will say more infection means more white blood cells, specifically B lymphocytes that produce antibody. The immune system will respond, etc., etc. Okay. Blood is circulated around the body by the heart. The action of the heart is coordinated and controlled by structures located in the walls, such as the sinoatrial node and the atrioventricular node. Now, describe the role of the sinoatrial node. We want to talk specifically about it. Yes, Farouk.
The sinoatrial node is myogenic. It's in
Yes.
the right. It's in the wall of the right atrium. It sends a wave of excitation to the atria, so they contract at the same time, and to the atrioventricular node.
Perfect. Okay, but not to the atrioventricular node. It sends a wave of excitation that goes to the atria. And then it will go to the atrioventricular node. Very good. And the atria, when they receive the wave of excitation, what happens? They both?
They contract at the same time?
Yes. And did you say the word pacemaker?
No, I do not.
Why? Why? Always the sinoatrial node, it's the natural pacemaker. It sends impulses at regular intervals. Okay, this is important. They specifically asked about the sinoatrial node, so we will give all the information we have. Okay, in a healthy heart, the atrioventricular node provides the only pathway for electrical impulses to travel from the atria to the ventricles. The bundle of Kent is a structure found in the heart in a small number of people. Some electrical impulses do not pass through the atrioventricular node, but travel directly to this from the atria to the ventricles through the bundle of Kent. Suggest and explain effects that the presence of the bundle of Kent may have on the heart rate. Okay, Mariam, can you answer this question? Now, obviously, when we have this bundle of Kent and the wave of excitation goes directly from the atria to the ventricles with no delay, how will this affect the heart rate, Mariam? Increase it or decrease it?
Decrease.
Are you sure? There is no delay.
لا كده increase.
Yes, the heart rate will increase. Something else, will the heart rate be regular or irregular?
Regular.
Huh?
Regular.
Do you think so?
مش هو مفيش delay يعني هيكون كله الهارت the full heart will contract together and relax together.
Yes, but obviously, this bundle of Kent is a defect. It's not the normal. We should have a delay so that one part of the heart will contract before the other. Now, when they both contract, they are not exactly together, but there is no proper rhythm. There is no proper delay. The heart rate will increase, definitely, and the heart rate will be regular or irregular?
Irregular.
Yes, it will definitely be irregular. Now, what are the disadvantages when you have an irregular heartbeat and when the atria doesn't contract before the ventricles?
The ventricles will not have time to fill up with blood, therefore not sufficient blood is provided to the body.
Correct. And will the atria have enough time to empty?
No.
No, we will write the exact opposite of the advantages of the delay. Both atria will not have time to empty, and the ventricles will not have time to also empty or to fill up with blood or empty, that's the same thing. And not enough blood will be distributed throughout the body. So we said that the advantages of the delay is that we give time for the atria to empty, and we give time for the ventricles to fill. So the disadvantages of no delay is the opposite. We don't give time for the atria to fill, and we don't give time for the ventricles to empty. So the ventricles will pump less blood and less blood will reach the body, and the heart rate will increase, and the heart rate will be irregular. This is called fibrillation, and you have to go to Dr. Magdi Yaqub in order to fix the problem. Okay? So this will give you hopefully the 3 marks. Now also talk to me, 3 marks is a lot. Let's add something. What will happen to the contraction of the ventricles? Will they contract properly from the base upwards?
No.
No. When you have a question like this, how will I think of the answer? I will think of the normal pathway, and then I will write everything that is against the normal pathway. The normal pathway is that both atria will contract at the same time, and then both ventricles contract at the same time. And the ventricles, they have to contract from the apex or the base upwards. Now, all this will be distorted when I don't have a normal pathway. So you will write the opposite. I will say that the atria and the ventricles, they will contract together. They will not contract one after the other. And the atria will not have time to empty, and the ventricles will not have time to fill. And the ventricles will not contract from the base upwards, and there will be no delay, and the heartbeat will not be regular, and the heartbeat will be faster. And this is a condition, it's a disease condition. So you will write everything opposite from what you know. Okay, let's read the answers. This is also not a very nice question, and I can get it on the term exam. This is page what, 29? Okay. Now, any 3 from faster heart rate, increased rate of contraction, no or no delay, I think we said that also. More impulses reaching the ventricles per unit time, which is the same as faster heart rate. Ventricles may contract before they are full. I think Mariam said that. Irregular heart rate, we said it. Any valid point, example, may have no effect if only a small proportion of muscles passing through. Suggestion that the ventricles may not contract from the base up. Did we say everything? Hello? Did we miss anything?
No.
Okay, so again, when you have a question like this that is talking about a disease or a defect, think of the normal pathway and write the opposite so you don't miss any point. Are you with me, Kenzie? Farouk?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Now, a red blood cell goes through a number of stages in the bone marrow before it is released into the circulation to carry out its role of oxygen. Figure 3.1 is a transmission electron micrograph of developing red blood cells in the bone marrow. Each cell is known as an erythroblast. Now, what do these people want? The SPTB gene codes for a protein that provides stability and support to the cell surface membrane of the red blood cell. Mutation in the SPTB results in red blood cells that are spherical. This mutation leads to a disease known as, I don't know what. Suggest why a person with spherocytosis type 2 has the reduced ability to take up oxygen in the pulmonary capillaries compared with a person who has normal red blood cells. Now, we did study normal red blood cells in the first lesson. We even took it last year in O-level. If you don't have a normal red blood cell and a diseased red blood cell, how will this affect the ability to take up oxygen? You know what you will do? You will think of all the characteristics of a normal red blood cell. Farouk, can you give me an answer?
Sure. Serious?
Excuse me?
Yeah. I'll say yes.
Farouk?
Yes, yes. The red blood cell doesn't
What
have
are, What are the normal characteristics about a red blood cell that makes it adapted to take up oxygen?
It's like hollow from the inside. It's an
Okay, it's hollow. Hollow means it has no nucleus or it has a nucleus.
no nucleus.
Okay, no nucleus. And what about the shape? Because this is what they're specifically talking about.
I don't remember the shape. It's
Okay, it's by, what did you say? I can't hear you.
I don't remember the name of the shape.
I'm trying to help you. It's by will help him.
Biconcave.
Biconcave. And when it is biconcave, this increases the surface area or decreases the surface area?
It increases the surface area.
Very good. Now, if I have a spherical around red blood cell, how will this affect the surface area?
Decrease the surface area.
Yes, it will decrease the surface area. I think that's the most important point that you need to mention. And also, a normal red blood cell has no nucleus. And which protein does it have?
Which protein?
It has a protein that carries, come on. It has a protein that carries lots of hemoglobin.
I don't know.
No, don't tell me I don't know the protein. The protein, we studied its structure in detail in the lesson biological molecules.
Yeah. Wait. I forgot. Wait, I know what you're talking about. This. I don't remember the name.
Someone help him. Kenzie, what's the name of the protein?
It's hemoglobin.
Yes. We will say that this diseased red blood cell doesn't have all those features. Something else. The red blood cell, it can enter inside the capillaries. Why? Because it is very what, Mariam?
Spherical.
Because it is because the normal red blood cell is small, big, flexible. What? Come on.
Civil and small.
It's small. Okay, it's smaller. Maybe the spherical will be bigger, so it will not allow it to enter the capillaries. Also, the normal red blood cell, is it flexible and can squeeze through the capillaries or not?
Yes, it is.
It is. When it is spherical, it won't. It will be bigger. It will not fit inside the capillaries because they are specifically asking about the shape change, and they are specifically asking how will this change of shape affect the taking up of oxygen in the capillaries? Read the question carefully. So the hemoglobin and no nucleus and an empty red blood cell is not really an answer. If you write it, it's okay. But we will have to specifically talk about the shape. The normal red blood cell is biconcave, and this will increase its surface area. We know this a very long time before. So when it is spherical, definitely this will affect the surface area. So this can be one point, one main point. Something else, we know that it is small and it can squeeze into the red blood cells. Now, when it is round, definitely this will affect its flexibility and it will not be able to squeeze into the red blood cells. And this will affect the oxygen supply. So this can be a second point. Those two will be very enough. Yes? Hello? Are you with me?
Yes, miss.
If it cannot carry up oxygen, then it will not provide the oxygen supply needed. It will take more time to take up oxygen. It will be slower in the supply of oxygen, whatever. Let's look at the mark scheme also. Assume spherocytes type 2 unless stated otherwise. In other words, they will assume that you're talking about that type of red blood cell. So you can write any two from. Spherical means reduced surface area to volume ratio. So less oxygen will diffuse in. Okay, so I think we mentioned that. We definitely mentioned surface area, except SA for surface area. Idea of further distance for oxygen to reach some hemoglobin molecules or center of red blood cells. Here they're talking also about the surface area. So the hemoglobin or the oxygen will take more time to diffuse to the center of the red blood cell. Yes, Farouk?
Miss, I have to leave now because I have a lesson in 4 minutes.
Okay, we will answer the last question, okay, and we can leave for your sake. Can you wait? So we finish this question? Okay. And I think we mentioned also that the spherical is larger and less flexible, so it is less able to pass through the capillaries. Did we mention that?
Yes, we did.
Yes.
We did. Okay, the last question because Farouk is leaving. Increase in the water potential. Oh, let's look at this. Increase in the water potential of the blood plasma have greater effects on red blood cells in people with spherocytes type 2. Compare and explain the effects of an increase in the water potential of blood plasma on spherocytes type 2 red blood cells and normal red blood cells. Now, Farouk, this question is for you. If I put a normal red blood cell in a solution of high water potential, like a dilute solution, what will happen?
Water will move into the cell
Yes.
by osmosis down from high water potential to low water potential.
Yes. And what will this do to the cell?
It will be turgid.
It will turgid. Turgid, we use this term with plants only.
Okay.
What will happen to a normal red blood cell? What will happen to it?
Just
It will burst, of course. Now, if it is a spherical red blood cell and I put it in water potential, what will happen?
the
Don't
water,
forget, it doesn't have a cell wall.
the what? What?
The water will move in also, or it will, it will. And also it will,
It will burst as well.
yes, it will burst. Then if both of them will burst, why is the spherical red blood cell of less efficiency than the normal red blood cell?
Because it's not as flexible.
Excuse me? I didn't hear you.
It doesn't have as big of a surface area.
Yes, we know. Both of them will burst. We both agree. And you will, why is it out of 3 marks? You will mention that if it is put in water of high water potential, the water will move in down a concentration gradient. And because it has no cell wall, it will burst. So both of them will burst. Tell me, which one will burst faster?
The normal red blood cell.
Are you sure the normal red blood cell that is healthy will burn faster, or the spherical one that is diseased?
The spherical one.
Yes, of course. The red blood cell will burst. They will both burst, but one of them maybe will resist a little bit. One of them will be more stable or stronger than the other. Okay? So we will compare, we will say that both of them will burst. Now, but because one is spherical and it is diseased and it has more surface area, it will take in more water, then it will burst faster.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
the biconcave, it has less surface area and it will burst also, but maybe it will take a longer time for it to burst. It will be a little bit more stable than the other one. Okay? Okay, let's look at the mind scheme and then I'll let you go, promise. Any 3 from water potential gradient created loss of equal water potential, so water similarities. Water will enter both cells by osmosis down the water potential gradient from high to low. Both type of cell will increase in size and both of them will burst. Differences. The spherocytes, the spherical one, will burst more easily before the red blood cells. They will burst more quickly. Didn't we say all this? Okay, the spherocytes cells burst and the red blood cells do not burst. They will accept something like that, but this is scientifically incorrect. The red blood cells will also burst. Any valid point. Example, spherocyte cells already are more swollen and they have more pressure exerted on their cell membrane than normal. This can be accepted. Alternative wording. In other words, you have to mention that the spherocytes are weaker and they will burst faster. Idea of spherocyte cells are unable to take in as much water and stay intact. Reference to less stable, less support, so weaker membrane. Ignore less flexible. I think we will take the grade. Anyone has any objections?
No.
Okay. I said that the spherical has more surface area and it will take in more water. Here, idea of spherocytes will take in as much water. It's the same thing. Okay, is unable to take in as much water, but this will not deduct a grade. You have to say that these spherocytes are unstable and they will burst faster than the other one. Anyone has any questions?
No.
Okay. We solved more than half of the questions together. Finish the rest for homework, please. If you have any questions, take a picture and send it to me if you're confused about anything. Fine?
Okay, miss, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Girls, do you have any questions?
No, thank you,
No,
doctor.
doctor, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.